Hello, my name's Harvey, and on behalf of Paintjam, I'd like to thank you all for joining the event. I've got a killer performance in store for you, but first I'd like to tell you a little about my journey to becoming a speed painter. My life as an entertainer started back when I was a little boy. The intention was never really about putting on a show, it was about having more fun than anyone else could. That attitude would later lead to the beginning of Paintjam virtual performances, but I'll tell you more about that later. My passion for theater began in intermediate school. First I did tech theater, behind the scenes type work. Then my freshman through senior year, I was cast in every musical put on. Grease, Into the Woods, Alice in Wonderland, and The Wizard of Oz. I was a rock star, a prince, mad as a hatter and loose as a scarecrow. I danced down that yellow brick road until I lost my way. I felt defeated, like it was all over when I was handed my diploma. Every one of my teachers that caught my performance begged that I pursue acting, especially my theater director. But I came up with a million reasons not to try show business. I don't live in Hollywood. I don't have a degree. Would a degree in theater even get me anywhere? I sold myself short and cut myself down. After working retail for 2 years, I was hired on at a gasket manufacturing plant for water pipeline construction. There were a dozen 30-foot tall, 10-ton hydraulic presses cooking rubber at like 300 degrees. The warehouse was outside with the doors and windows open. No air conditioning. Working blue collar for 2 years outside in Houston heat was enough for me to question the longevity of my career. During the time I worked at the factory, my dad, Dan Dunn, had been diagnosed with cancer. The pioneer of speed painting had begun a successful career of steady gigs when his video of speed painting, Ray Charles, blew up on a still very new YouTube back in 2008. Still landing gigs, he started his chemo treatment, but was weaker. Cancer or not, he said the show must go on. It was only until he went into remission and recovered that he realized he could not continue forever. He began exploring the idea of training another painter to work with him and, eventually, take his place. I was hurt that I was not even considered as a candidate, so I began training with my dad every single day to show him I could do this. I had never painted before, but I had drawn and sculpted my whole life. Not to mention I've seen all my dad's work since Paintjam began. To prove myself, I attempted to paint his signature piece, Ray Charles. I'll admit, it was rough, but I captured a likeness. As rough as it was, Dad was still ecstatic with my Ray painting. He said, "You never get it right the first try, but that you've got the stuff." For the last 3 months of my employment at the factory, I stopped by Dad's studio after work to practice. I was exhausted, but I wanted this more than I wanted anything in a long time. I started to move faster. My brushes became an extension of myself. I wanted to tell you all this because life is not a straight path for anyone. If you ever feel like your yellow brick road is missing too, just remember that there's no such thing as time wasted if you learn something from it. You never know what you're capable of until you try. Alright, let's not get too heavy. I'm gonna go back to paint jamming now.
Get ready for Paint Jam!
So anyway, I practiced painting every day after work and discovered that with my new skill, my passion to perform could lead to a whole new career. After enough practice to get confident, I got my first speed painting contract and immediately gave my 2 weeks notice at the factory. It was a show for a local high school's band lock-in. I loved the electricity in that room. Those kids cheering and hollering at me lit me up with adrenaline. I had been in large cast productions, but to be the center of attention made me feel like a rock star. I couldn't stop smiling if I tried. After the show, I used the footage we recorded to make a promotional video to send out so I could get more bookings. Let's paint jam!
All right.
With a tour scheduled, I painted for Comic-Cons like Houston Fandemic, Lexicon, and the Big Easy Con in New Orleans, where I met a lifelong hero of mine, Weird Al. I had heard he was going to be at Big Easy 2 weeks before I was scheduled to be there. So, I designed and practiced a new piece to perform really in the hopes that he would see it. Weird Al Yankovic was sitting in his enclosed autograph booth when I walked in with a 48 by 60 inch painting of him. He exclaimed, "That's awesome!" And it confirmed to me I'm on the right path. I loved the Comic Cons, because I'm a nerd at heart, and I got to paint nerdy things that I was passionate about. Next, I had registered for APCA, or the Association for the Promotion of Campus Activities. I was gaining steam and making a name for myself. The first time around, I secured 9 bookings for community colleges. The second time I participated in APCA, I barely got 3 bookings, most of which fell through. I got a little discouraged. Then we all got the news. COVID-19 was spreading rapidly worldwide, and live events were canceled for 2020, perhaps to return at an unknown date in 2021. It was looking like the end of Paintjam, for now at least. However, behind every adversity, there is an opportunity. Since I couldn't travel, I had to adapt. I played with the idea of live stream shows and tested it on Facebook. Dad and I called it Paintjamathon. We painted a cumulative of 28 paintings in 1 month, a new painting every day. It did not go well. On top of needing time to rehearse and set up the shoot, the production value of the videos were extremely lacking. There was one fixed camera angle right on us, so our backs were to the camera the whole time. Connection was going in and out, and there was audio loss. It didn't end up to be a total waste of time, because I did learn that literal live events were not the way to go. I found that pre-recorded performances with 3 camera angles that I switched between in real time produces a more engaging experience. And I had already been playing with special effects of my editing software to add a special surprise ending. Then I thought, how can I have even more fun with this? Behind the white curtain I paint in front of, I built a green screen, so that when I'm ready to reveal my paintings, the curtains open and the wall behind it project video correlating with the painting subject. It was like a new magic trick. Now, before I even rehearse a new painting, I find the right music first and download video of my subject in action to better give me an idea of how the video will flow. What I'm doing is more than just speed painting now. It's kind of like a new form of art. See, painting is using color to create the illusion of life. Now I create the illusion of life and animate it digitally for a greater aesthetic. Because of the adversity COVID presented, I was forced to find a solution in quarantine. Here it is, a virtual performance, specially tailored to all of you. So, remember, any hardship can be overcome with the courage to face it. As Mark Twain once said, the secret of getting ahead is getting started.